Richard, welcome.
Thank you, man. It's nice to be here.
Thank you for taking the drive over. You're coming up on 10 years clean.
Yes, sir.
Is that in January?
January 1st, yeah.
So like 5 months. Yeah. Not even. It's 4.5 months away.
Yeah. Yeah. It's my second time having a sobriety date on January 1st. A clean date. Yeah. Yeah. Imagine that.
Well, you must go hard on New Year's is what it means.
It just ended up that way. I mean, a decade or so back, I got arrested in a raid in Lake Worth on New Year's. And that started another clean date for me because I ended up doing like several years in the prison system after that arrest.
Was it a raid of your house?
It was a raid of the house I was living in. Yeah.
Okay. All right. You know what? I want to get there. Yeah, that sounds like a great
story. Dude, there's more than one raid, bro. There's more than one prison sentence. There's more than... Listen, I'm going to let you know right now, there's still parts of my story that are so depressing and so depraved that there's some feelings connected to them. Yeah. So if I get to a certain point, touch on a specific subject or two, I may get a little emotional. And that's me. I'm a highly emotional, highly sensitive guy.
That's okay. This is a safe space. And I appreciate you, the willingness to get vulnerable and share your story just to help someone else.
Yeah, that's why I'm here.
It's amazing. I respect that a lot.
Thank you.
So let's start early childhood. Where did you grow up? What was life like?
Okay. I was born in Morristown, New Jersey, 1967. I had a brother. I was the oldest. My mother was kind of sheltered. Her mother worked for Lord & Taylor. My grandmother worked for Lord & Taylor, retired from Lord & Taylor after 45 years. My grandfather was in DuPont, worked for DuPont, retired out of DuPont, 3 or 4 decades. But she met a man who was different from her. He was a greaser. Tank top, cigarettes rolled up in the sleeve, long, dark, gelled black hair, drove around in a convertible Mustang, drank. And it was like two separate worlds. My mom was sheltered. There was a bunch of children. They had servants and they had housekeepers in their house. And my dad was adopted and was just running amok. And you know how that's what happened. So my only memories of New Jersey are a lot of yelling and screaming, a lot of breaking glass, and a couple times my German Shepherd got hit by a car in front of our house. I wasn't in Jersey long. We moved to South Florida when I was 5.
Okay.
So my mom divorced my father after some just infidelity and drunkenness and a little bit of physical abuse, controlling behavior. She decided to pack up the Mustang and brought me and my brother to Highland Beach because my grandparents at the time had retired and were living in Highland Beach. Mm-hmm. So from New Jersey to Boca. And that was the beginning, of the second phase of our lives here in South Florida.
Did your dad stay in Jersey?
My dad did stay in Jersey.
And did you have a relationship with him once you moved down?
It was several years after we moved down. My mom kept in touch with him just to kind of let him know what was going on with her and us, but we didn't have any contact.
Yeah.
It wasn't until I was in my mid-teens, early teens, that I was already in such trouble in my life, in school and in criminal activity as a preteen and teen, that a couple times I had took the trip. It was like, hey, you got to go somewhere. You got to get out of Dodge.
Escape.
And I did spend some time in New Jersey. At the time, he was still an active alcoholic. He was taking a lot of medicines because he had seizures. He drank while on the medicine or drank and didn't take the medicine. So he was physically unhealthy. He was hit in the head with a hardball in high school, which left him with traumatic brain injury. Oh. And from the time he was 17 or 18, he just had seizures that he couldn't control. And with the alcohol and the way he lived, he would get behind the wheel and he would have accidents, almost killing himself and others. So they quickly took his license in New Jersey and he was given disability. And he basically just lived off women and drank and shot pool and stuff like that up until he passed. Yeah. So both times that I went there to kind of escape what was happening in Florida, it was more of the same there. So it wasn't that he was like, hey, you can't stay here. He wanted me there. He loved me. He did what he could. He wasn't equipped to deal with me. And also he wasn't equipped to help himself. Yeah. So it was difficult. And then of course I'm homesick. I want to be I want to be with my friends. I want to be back in Boynton Beach. I want to be hanging out.
Yeah, of course.
I didn't have a life here. Yeah. So, but I was homesick. Yeah. I didn't know Jersey. I didn't know anyone there.
So you moved down here to Florida, and what was life like from the ages of 5 until, let's say, you got into high school? Mm-hmm. When was the first time you may have dabbled with drugs or alcohol?
Okay. Yeah. I remember we were in Highland Beach for a short period of time, and then she got a job. My mom got a job, and we ended up moving to Boca over by the FAU campus, and we were living there. There was a few boyfriends were coming into the picture, right? My mom was young. She was beautiful. She looked like Elizabeth Taylor, but in her 20s, and so it was just men coming into the house, and me and my brother wondering what was going on, and we really didn't do much. We moved around, and then eventually we started going to school. I remember going to Spady Elementary in Delray, and then when she met her second husband, we ended up moving to Boynton in 76. So this new guy enters the picture. And in a short 4 years, she had 4 children with the new guy.
She had 4 kids in 4 years.
Yes.
Hey guys, quick update. Every Monday night, I host the Rise Above Recovery meeting. It's an open meeting for any addiction, alcohol, drugs, gambling, food, whatever you're struggling with, you're welcome here. To get the meeting link and weekly updates, just email me at kevin@riseabovepod.com and I'll add you to the list. Also, if this podcast has helped you, please like, subscribe, or leave a rating. It helps us continue to spread the message of hope. Lastly, if you'd like to go even deeper with Rise Above, check out our Patreon. Supporters get access to live interviews and can chat with guests after the interview. Thank you.
So now I'm an 8-year-old. My brother's 6 years old. And there's a 1-year-old, a 2-year-old, and a 3-year-old, and a 4-year-old, right? So now we're like the left behind kids that weren't his. And there was a big, big disconnect with how he interacted with us versus how he interacted with his children with my mother. My mother was super busy with the little ones, so me and my brother had free reign. And we didn't like him, nor did we listen to him. And she was busy focusing on the kids that she was trying to raise, that we just did what we wanted. And at a very early age, I'm going to say 10, 11, 12, we were already getting in trouble, experimenting with some of the smaller drugs, the alcohol, of course, the cigarettes, the marijuana. I started meeting up with people, friends in the neighborhood that were likewise like us. I did tend to gravitate towards people that were older than me. So I'm 14, 13, 12 years old. All of my friends are driving. They're in high school. And as that continued, my dependence on those substances and doing that and getting this acceptance from these friends caused me to have real severe issues in school. I had probably a lot of undiagnosed stuff going on.
Yeah.
I was an introvert, but extremely extroverted if I felt comfortable and accepted, right? So I spent a lot of time alone, but as soon as I was in a crowd that I thought accepted me, then I'm the opposite. I'm way out there, zany, class clown, constantly in trouble in school, constantly separated from the rest of the class and put at my own table with my own chair away so I wasn't distracted because I had some stuff going on. I just couldn't focus.
Yeah.
Very smart intellectually, but not I didn't apply any of that in the classroom because I was so distracted with, doing my other stuff. So they basically just passed me to get me out of the class to the next grade. And during that time, I was doing things like going into people's houses in my neighborhood. I wasn't using hard drugs at the time, so it wasn't a matter of trying to steal to support a habit. I wasn't even stealing. I just didn't like my own home. And as a result of that, I wanted to just be in other homes. It's just a weird thing that I was doing. I would just break into people's houses while they were at work. and just sit around, maybe eat, turn the TV on. It was just one of those things, man. I could not stand being in my own home. And I was so young that I didn't know how to tell anyone about it, right?
Well, I want to say that's a sad story. And I feel for you. My heart, I'm sorry. And I want to just correct. I'm laughing.
No. It's
out of like, I could picture
amazement.
you just eating someone's ice cream on the couch while they're not there. Like absurd.
Dude, I did it. The same house every day, dude. These people had to have been coming up and be like, dude, why is our shit wet? Why is it?
My ice cream's eaten.
But
like,
nobody ever, I never got caught.
Yeah.
Some of these houses were my friend's house.
Yeah.
They were in school. Their parents were at work. I was skipping school. I was high. I was depressed.
Yeah.
I was confused. I was afraid. And I just did this. I did a lot of walking in our woods in our neighborhood too, just by myself.
When you were going through this, were you aware that you were kind of being disposed of, or even in class, you talked about they just passed me just to get, were you aware of that when it was going on?
Really aware of it, to the point where it made me feel a certain way, right?
Yeah.
So I started having, I just started feeling like I didn't know where I fit, right? And as a result of that, my self-esteem and my confusion, I was confused. I didn't know how to do what all of my friends were doing. And I pretended well, I masked it well, but I just was really lost as at that age. That was pre-crack, pre-powder cocaine, pre-mushrooms, pre-LSD. But it was during a period of time where we were getting a lot of marijuana, smoking a lot of joints, hanging out in the woods, building forts, goofing, playing having BB gun wars where we were actually just trying to shoot each other in the head with BB guns, dude. Just goofy stuff that kids do. But, because I didn't want to be home at all, ever, I spent the majority of my day outside of the house.
Yeah.
We had no rules. We didn't have to come home.
Yeah.
So we would just camp. Mom, me and Michael are going to camp at the end of the street. We're 13 years old. We got a tent. We got food. We're stealing food from the 7-Eleven. We're just like we're on a fucking hike, but it's at the end of our street versus being in our home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you get pushed through high school.
Yeah, I didn't make it. 7th grade. I failed 7th, repeated 7th, and then made it to Atlantic High School and didn't even know where my books were 4 months in. Didn't know where my books were, missed so much school. They were like, well, we're not going to give you a report card. I don't want it. I know what it is. It's a 0, incomplete. Keep it. And I told my mom, I said, I'm not going to school. And she just kind of was like frustrated. She didn't know how to deal with me. Yeah. She says, well, listen, if you're going to drop out of high school, you at least have to go to South Tech, a technical school. I agreed. She brought me there, signed me up. I think I went to one class, auto mechanics. I'm not doing that either.
So you drop out of school, you don't go to the tech school. What do you do from there?
I become like a bum, a neighborhood bum, sitting on the park bench, hanging out with these people, watching my friends grow older and start going to work and start having girlfriends and relationships and children. And from the age of like 14 to 18, in between the stints in detention center and the stints on juvenile probation for burglaries and for possessions of marijuana and for grand thefts, I just was that guy that never grew. I didn't grow up. I just was like, physically I was growing up, but I was still that 18-year-old kid sitting on the same park bench where we used to play flag football while everyone else has got a fucking life and I'm still living at home with no thoughts or plans of action, not knowing what to do. And during that period of time, I didn't date in school. I think I might have had one girlfriend, but she scared me. So I was like, fuck, I'm not dealing with her. I don't know how to do all this. I'm not, I liked her. She was cool, but she was really controlling and she wanted me to be and act a certain way. And I had my other stuff that I was trying to deal with. And I was just like, wow, this is for the birds. And so I didn't date in school. And of course, by 15, I'm out of school, right? I dropped out. And I met a girl in my neighborhood and she was a couple years younger. And that was my first ever girlfriend. And but I'm disconnected emotionally with my feelings and stuff based on what's going on. And so that was a real stressful time for me too, because she gave me some support. She gave me some consideration. She acknowledged me. She was concerned. So she became my world. And that ended after a year, basically because women change. Women are fickle, right? They want one thing 1 minute and they change their mind the next. So I thought this was going to be my last ever girlfriend, wife, mother of my children, spouse. That's the fantasy that I had in my mind. And when it ended, I was a mess. This is probably one of the hardest parts to talk about, because I didn't know that I was going to be able to go on after this, right? So I'm a teen struggling with my own stuff. And then I'm super depressed because the only person in my life that I thought mattered decided she didn't want to date anymore. She even said that she would still sleep with me. She just didn't want to be my girlfriend. And of course, I needed it all. I couldn't have part.
Yeah.
And I said, I said a bunch of things, and I was fucked up for a few years. I still 2.5 years in didn't know and wanted to know why she did what she did. And my mom didn't know what to do. I was depressed. I was crying all the time. I was following around the neighborhood trying to keep tabs on who she was with. It was a bad time for me. And unfortunately, during that period of time, a new drug had hit the street called crack. And I used it during this period of time. And the instant I used it, all of the worry, all of the frustration, all of the confusion, all of the depression disappeared. The drug, the high of the drug replaced all of that. And I needed it to be replaced. I didn't want to feel those feelings, and that drug did it. So that drug instantaneously became my solution to all the problems in my life at that moment in my life as a 15-year-old, 16-year-old teen that didn't really have any direction. So you can just imagine what happened to me after that.
Do you remember the first time you smoked crack?
Sure.
What does it feel like to be high on crack?
It's similar to what I was just explaining. It is if the euphoria, the rush that you get because of how you're ingesting it, it's being smoked versus being snorted or being shot. It's a different effect. The euphoria is instantaneously, but it's short lasting. 40, 50 seconds, a minute and a half. You are no longer feeling the euphoria, but you are now feeling more depressed than you were before you felt the euphoria. So you want to continue to feed yourself that high. That's why it's so psychologically addicted, because it does something to your chemistry. And when you do a lot of it, the chemistry is replaced by the drug. When you don't have any more, the drug is gone, the chemistry is depleted, and now you're 10 steps lower on the rung of the desperation and depression than you were before you got high. So now it's chase to get back to normal. And then you never, ever, ever get the rush again. Yeah. So it becomes a constant chase to, it's a memory eraser for me. It was a pain eraser. It made me not think about the despair and craziness and insanity of my life. It added a whole bunch of that stuff to my life, right? Years later. But at the time when I was doing it, it just made me feel okay. Yeah. Okay enough to go about the day. But that's a weird drug, because then your life revolves around the drug. And for someone who was already a criminal, it just was like, I know how to feed this habit. I just got to take shit that don't belong to me and sell it. And then I can just keep doing this. And that's what I did at an early age.
So you're like 16 at this point. You start smoking crack and you're off to the races.
Yeah. I'm now stealing everything that isn't tied down, mainly in my family and in the household, right? Yeah. Because the family is the easiest people to steal from, because you feel that they're not going to do anything about it, right? That they're going to love you through it. No, dude. In a matter of 6 or 8 months, I was a homeless teen crackhead in the city of Boynton Beach.
Okay. So You now are on the street. You've robbed your family. I'm assuming they cut ties with you. They don't want to deal with you anymore.
Yeah, we dealt with each other only in passing because I was homeless in the city where they lived.
Right.
And I stayed close to the area.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I didn't want them involved in what I was doing, and they didn't want me involved in what they were doing because of the stealing.
Yeah.
So I just moved it to other locations, right? Anything that was open or I can get into. I started doing a lot of burglaries in the neighborhood, and I started racking up a long list of felony charges.
What was one of the biggest heists or felonies that you caught? Let's just say for right now in the early stages.
Yeah,
let's say your late teens, early 20s.
Yeah. There's one that comes to mind. There's in my neighborhood, there was a lady. We all called her a witch because she wore just weird clothes. Her house looked dilapidated. In fact, there were holes in the roof of her house. So we knew that when it rained, rain got in. She never spoke. She only drove to and from the store. We were afraid of her when we were younger. We went around her house the long way. We didn't like going near her house. So there was always we just had this idea about her. Man, maybe she's in there doing some weird shit. One day, I saw her mowing her yard, and I needed to get high. So while she was mowing her backyard, I went in her front door. And as long as I could hear that mower running, I knew this old lady was pushing that mower. And she wasn't moving too fast because she was like in her 60s or 70s then. And I rummaged through the house, and sure enough, there's a whole 5-foot hole in the center of her roof that I was looking through out into the clouds. She lived like a bag lady. I came to find out she had many, many empty wine bottles in her kitchen. So I knew that she was also suffering from the disease of alcoholism. But I ended up finding a purse on a hanger in her closet. And in that purse were 3 envelopes, and each envelope had $1,000 in it. So, I mean, it's not a big deal, $3,000. But for me, dude, I thought I'd won the lottery. I was like, I'm out of here.
Holy
shit. And I took the money and split. And that just started like a 6 or 7 day roll for me. And it ended up being no good. I got arrested shortly after. I never did get arrested for that charge per se, but the way I was living, it was only a few weeks after that I was arrested for something else.
Yeah.
So I think karma got me anyway.
Yeah.
And I have tons of amends. I've made a bunch, but I have a few financial amends to make, but in due time.
You talked very quickly in the beginning about your house being raided. So let's go through your early 20s up until the progression of the disease and how you got to a place where your house was getting raided.
Okay, so at this time, now me and my brother, my younger brother Michael. Mm-hmm. We're palling around now because now he's on crack.
Oh.
So now we are dubbed by the courts and by a judge in Palm Beach County Jail, the dynamic duo, because we're together homeless, robbing, breaking into places. So within a few short years, we've racked up so many retail thefts and petty thefts in the cities of Delray, Boynton, and Hypoluxo and Lantana that we were now barred and banned from any shopping spot. Publix, Winn-Dixie, Rite Aid, Farmore, Best Buy, Ecker Drugs, Super X, the Boynton Beach Mall, Fava shoe stores, Kmart, Zayre's. There was no stores that we could go into without them following us around or calling the police because we had just done it so often and for so long. So it began, the revolving door of the jails started happening. Me and him both caught our first felonies in 1985 in Delray at Laver's Racket Club. He went into a house. I stood watch. The people came home. He ran one way. I ran another. He got away. I got caught. The coach for St. Aloysius High School saw me running in the neighborhood, chased me down in his Jeep, and held me on the ground with a shotgun until the police got there. So that was my first felony as an adult, and I was first time I was put in the newspaper. There was an article about it in the Palm Beach Post. Local neighborhood football coach apprehends burglary suspect. So we both get some time and some probation for that. And it just became a lot of that. Within a short period of about 4 years, me and my brother racked up about 20 felony convictions each. Short jail stints, long jail stints, real long jail stints. And then 1988, I graduated from the jails to the Department of Corrections. And I was sentenced to my first prison sentence as an 18-year-old in 1988 for burglaries and grand theft and dealing in stolen property.
How much time did you get?
I got 2.5 years. I ended up going to South Florida Reception Center. And from there, I was transferred to one of the worst prisons in the state of Florida at the time, Charlotte Correctional.
What was that like?
It was bad. It was brand new. They had 700 inmates when I got there. When I left a year and a half later, there was about 1,400. They didn't have any recreation facilities. It was so new. So there was nothing for these inmates to do other than steal, beat each other up, stab each other, rob other inmates, and just basically create havoc, So I was doing 2.5 years for a burglary and a grand theft, and my roommate was doing 27 years for aggravated kidnapping and home invasions. So it was like they just put everyone together. It didn't matter what your custody level was. It didn't matter what you did that got you there. Everyone was forced to just live together and fend for themselves. So it was pretty jarring experience. I didn't have any issues because I stayed to myself. I did a lot of reading. I involved myself with some programs, some NA, some AA meetings, and some therapy sessions. But it's still, it's in your face. It's actually happening. So it was like living in a world where the inmates made their own rules, and then you just had your little groups of inmates, and you just needed to really watch yourself and pay attention to detail, not get involved in things that, that would get you into trouble. And I stayed to myself, and I didn't have any issues.
What was the craziest thing you saw in there?
Well, Charlotte, the National Guard was brought in while I was there because there were inmates basically stabbing inmates to steal their commissary, their food. There was a lot of cocaine on the compound at the time. This is 1987. This is 1989. So there's a lot of crack cocaine and a lot of drugs on the compound, and all of the addicts are now using it, and now they're having to feed their addiction in the prison system. And the best way to do that would be to just stand outside of one of the commissary lines and catch one guy coming through with his bag of goodies and just knocking him out or sticking him and stealing his stuff and taking it and then selling it so they can get more of their drug. Yeah. The correctional officers were bringing large quantities of drugs into this particular institution. A lot of them were indicted. It's a mess. The Department of Corrections in the state of Florida is a mess, and it has been a mess for decades. It's just, you have to do what you have to do.
Yeah. So you get out in what, like 91?
I get out in 91, and I'm put on some kind of supervision, and that doesn't go well because I don't stay clean. The supervision was 90 days. As long as I didn't get in trouble for 90 days, I was going to be off the supervision. Dude, I couldn't stay. Within 90 days, I had moved out of the county to Coral Springs. I had left the county that I was supervised in. So, of course, that's a violation. And now I'm in Coral Springs with my stepdad, smoking crack. Because by then, him and my mom had separated. And he's now with a new girl. And mom is now taking care of 4 children now by herself because me and Michael are roaming the streets wild. So it was one of those things. So, of course, I was back in jail and sent back to prison about 4 months after being released to finish up that supervision time. So then I get out in 90 and I catch a burglary case, and I go back to jail. And the judge at this time says, listen, he says, if I ever see you in my courtroom again, I'm going to habitualize you, which means they're going to enhance my penalty and give me they're going to double the allowable maximum sentence for the charge. It's a Florida thing. They have an enhanced penalty act. So I'm doing a year in the county, swearing I'm never going to go in front of that judge again. And I get out and I get high immediately. And within 4 months, I'm back in jail with another burglary. And I'm going back in front of the judge who just swore that he was going to habitualize me and give me 30 years. So now I'm sweating bullets. Fortunately or unfortunately, I was habitualized by the state attorney's office, which moved me into a different division. And then that judge had no dealings with me. So I wasn't facing the mandatory 30 years, but I was facing the habitual status. And after several months of being in the county jail, I got accepted to go to a program called the Sheriff's Drug Farm, which was run by DAF, and it was run by the DAF and the Sheriff's Office. It was a dual program where it was like a boot camp for 15 months long. And I pled guilty to my crime. The judge sentenced me to the drug farm, but the state attorney put me on 40 years of supervised probation because I was facing 40 years in prison for the charge and the habitualization. So I had to take it. I couldn't argue with it.
Yeah.
I pled out. The judge sentenced me to what I wanted. The state got what they wanted. So of course I do 15 months in this place that was like the worst boot camp that one can possibly be. You got to remember, I've never been in treatment. I've never been court ordered to a program. I don't know about drug treatment. I don't know about AA. All I know is that I'm a raving lunatic when I'm on the streets. And now the jails are like, the courts are like, well, you got to get it right this time because you have 40 years hanging over your head. So now I'm in my early 20s and I'm sitting in this place in the middle of a sugarcane field in Belglade, marching at 5 a.m. and doing flag ceremonies and saluting the staff and running 5 miles in a sugarcane patch every morning. It was just a shock. I had some behavioral problems there because this was like going from one world to a whole nother world.
Yeah.
And they wanted me to look at myself, man. And looking at myself is what I've been trying not to do for the last 10 fucking years. So I'm like, how you want me to look at myself? I feel like this big. But I eventually went through it and struggled but overcame the struggles and ended up graduating after about 14 months. And then phase 2 of that program was halfway. So I went to Carp's halfway house down in West Palm and I got a job and I was a bus boy and I was doing my thing and I was doing meetings, but I still had unresolved stuff. I still wasn't taking my life and the actions seriously. And, I was stable up until the point where I met another girl. And you're going to see this reoccurring theme here in my story with these girls. So I still don't know how to regulate my emotions. I'm still haven't been in any type of relationship that was healthy. All that time I was using in Boynton and getting high, I was not with a girl or not in a relationship because I'm not sharing my drugs, right? So that's how I was thinking about it, right? I'm not sharing nothing. So I meet a girl at Carp. She's got more red flags than the average shipping container. And I just fell head over heels. And as soon as the first sign of trouble came, when she started acting crazy, then once again, I had those feelings like I had before with my first girlfriend of inadequacy and confusion and not knowing what to do or how to regulate my emotions. And of course, I was hurt. And as soon as I get anywhere close to feeling hurt, now I want to run from that feeling. And I've been running from it for a while and I knew exactly what would take it away. So I immediately got high. With 40 years of probation over my head, I got high. I got a battery charge. She broke into my apartment. I tried to get her to leave. She refused to leave. She hit me over the head with an ashtray. I call the police. They come. I ask them to remove her. They say, she doesn't have money. She's drunk. You're sober. You have money. Why don't you leave? And I was like, it's my place. I don't want to leave my place. I want her to leave. Well, she doesn't have the ability. I said, okay, whatever. I'll leave. Okay, Mr. Phillips. But if you come back and we get a call, you're going to jail. So I left and then I called her and then she said she was sorry. And then I came back and then she called them and said I was at the door. And then they came and arrested me and charged me with a battery charge.
My God.
So now I'm a mess, right? So I finally stood up for myself and said, I don't want in this. Please leave. She refuses to leave. I'm the sucker that called and came back. I go to jail for the battery, which she committed. I didn't commit. And now I'm sitting in jail with a year and a half clean. But my life is a mess.
Wait, I thought you had said that you felt those emotions and then you decided to pick up.
Yeah, I did.
But you had a year and a half clean when you went into jail?
When I didn't get high immediately after the altercation. So this was ending. I was in some stress. I caught the case. I went to jail.
Got it.
I got released on my OR because they looked at the charge and realized that it wasn't a battery. I didn't do anything.
Yeah.
But while waiting to go back to court,
got it.
Now they know, the drug farm knows Richard got into a fucking relationship with Clown from Carp. He's a mess. We're really worried about him. So now I'm feeling guilty that I made some poor choices. I'm worried about what this charge is going to do to my 40 years probation. And I'm hurt over the thing with the girl.
Got it.
Those three things sent me out the door. And now I'm on the run. I'm on Palm Beach County's most wanted list. It's 1993 and I'm running. I got 40 years over my head and I'm ripping and running. I'm doing burglaries. I'm driving around in my car. I'm not sleeping and eating for days. And
giving zero fucks.
I'm a mess. Yeah, I'm a mess. I'm like, when they catch me, I'll deal with it then.
Yep.
And then I met a friend of mine who was also at the drug farm with me, who was selling crack. And me and him paired up. And that wasn't good. So now we're making it and dealing it in Lake Worth, driving around, meeting these people at all these locations, gas stations and parking lots while I'm on the run, while they're looking for me actively. And then the day came, New Year's, 1994. He's selling powder to a girl. She gets busted and gives him up. I'm just the clown that lives with him that's helping him drive around and sell these rocks. New Year's, she comes over to the house. I just went to get gas for the pressure cleaner. She comes in, makes the buy, locks herself in the bathroom, says what she needs to say with the microphone. They raid the house. I drive by the house and see them actively aiming AK-47s at every entrance point of the house. It's in Palm Springs. So I just drive by. I roll the windows up and I just casually just keep going. So now I'm thinking, his wife's there. Her two kids are there. I'm like, what do I do? I have their car. At this time, I wore the brakes off of mine. Mine would move. The brakes locked up on it. So I'm like, what do I do? I call her an hour later. I'm sitting with a friend. I'm trying to stay away from the area, but I'm trying to think of what I should do. I have crack. Now I'm smoking it. I'm not even selling it. I'm just getting high. She answers the phone and says, we have to figure out how to get him out of jail. Come to the house. We need the car. So I'm coming to the house, but I'm also kind of like
on edge.
Yeah, because what if that ain't true? Dude, I went around the block a few times. I didn't see any of those vehicles. I didn't see anybody outside or inside. I pulled into the driveway. I walked into the kitchen and was immediately thrown to the ground and with an AK-47 put at my head or an AR-15. And he's sitting in the living room on the floor in cuffs, just shaking his head with this smirk on his face, like, you dummy. So now we're both going to jail. They got 9 8-balls of powder, 40 rocks, $5,000 in cash. I'm charged with possession. He's charged with possession with intent to distribute. I got the 40-year VOP over my head that's now coming. He gets 3 years. They give me the drug farm again. Yeah.
They gave you the drug farm
They
again?
reinstated the 40 years and sent me back to Belglade for another 15 months to do that whole boot camp program all over again within a year of me graduating it. Talk about shame, guilt, embarrassment. Bro, I couldn't even look anyone in the eye. I took the sentence because it was better than the alternative.
Of course.
But 4 months in, I was a wreck. I could not stop beating myself up over the relapse, over the failure, over the arrest, over the new charges. And I basically talked myself right out of that program. I demanded they take me back to jail. I signed out voluntarily and I rolled the dice in front of the courts and I lost. I was given a 20-year split sentence, 10 in prison, followed by 10 out on paper. As a result of my not willing to just let go of that little ego and pride and just saying, I made a mistake. Let me do this again and get it right. I couldn't. And so that sentence was the long one.
What year did you start that sentence?
I started that sentence in 1995. I got out in 2001.
Okay.
Because I had all that time credited from before. They gave me 1,014 days credit. So that immediately came off the 10 years. And I was able to earn, because I was habitual, I was able to earn 10 days a month gain time. So that put me at, I did a little bit over 5.5 on that term before I was released.
Okay.
But once again, I'm not really released. I'm released from custody, but I still have the other half of that sentence over my head in probation.
Mm-hmm.
And I got work release. So now I finished out the last 2 years of that sentence on work release. So now I have a bunch of money in the bank. I'm going to NA meetings and AA meetings. I have a sponsor.
You were sober that whole time?
Oh yeah, I don't get high in jail or prison.
Wow.
No.
So you left there with 5.5, almost 6 years of sobriety time.
Yeah, and I carried it out. As soon as I got out, I was a member of the candlelight meeting at the Easy Does It Club.
Yeah.
I was doing AA. I had a sponsor.
Wow.
I met a girl who was
oh God.
I met a girl.
You tried to slip that in.
Dude. Yeah, I did, because in my mind,
I
was thinking about how am I going to... Listen, the girl was clean 4 years. I had the 7 from the joint, the 6.5. It was great. We knew each other from when we were in we were in halfway.
I get it.
We hadn't seen each other in a while. I just didn't know that she was a diagnosed bipolar manic depressant. She had been on meds that stabilized her for 4 years. She was able to get 4 years of recovery. She was also about 16 years older than me. So I was in my 30s and she was almost 50. She was over 50. And she had an issue with the age difference. But the age I told her I was apparently wasn't correct. And I had missed so much years and I didn't celebrate so many birthdays that I really did not know how old I was. I told her I was a certain age and I was off by a few years. So one day after being together for a year, I bring her to Boynton and I introduce her to my mom and her new husband number 3. And we're talking and she's showing pictures of me and we're all talking and we start talking about birthdays. And then she said, yeah, Rich. Yeah, Scott. She calls me Scott. Yeah, Scott, you're going to be blah, 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 blah on the 20th of June. And Cheryl realizes what she said. And I must have told Cheryl I was like 37, but I was like 34. And Cheryl fucking lost her mind. You're lying to me all this time. I said, Cheryl, really? It wasn't a lie. I said, Mom, tell her. Sometimes I had to ask you on the streets what month it was. I just was not in touch with time anymore because so much time had just blended into each other, right? The days turned to weeks, turned to months, turned to years, turned to decades. I wasn't in touch with time. So I really had to convince her. And once my mom started to talk to her, she realized that it was an honest mistake. Yeah. But she still didn't like it.
Yeah, because she already struggled with the age difference already.
She was
tack on a couple more years.
She was she was from Ontario. She was Jewish. She comes from a great family, and she's dating this guy that's fucking 17 years younger than her, who's got a criminal record longer than their family their family history. It was a mess. So a year goes by. She has a relapse on her meds. Her meds reached a peak. They stopped working. She had a depressive bout and a manic bout. She had to be hospitalized. And in the midst of her being hospitalized, I relapsed. Wasn't nothing specific. I felt a little alone because she wasn't in the house. We weren't in our apartment anymore. We had this nice little apartment in West Palm. I had a job. I was working at a radiator shop. She was working at Shell Seafood. And it was just a break in the routine. The routine was good. And then all of a sudden there was this wrench thrown in where she's now can't get out of bed, can't talk on the phone, won't comb her hair, won't take a shower. And I'm like, whoa, what's going on? And then I realized what's happening. And we get her into a hospital. And I relapsed. I really can't put a finger on why. And I kept it from her. So when she gets stabilized and comes back out, you know, I'm trying to go to work, trying to see her every day and be at the house in the night and go to meetings, but I'm getting high. I'm smoking crack, doing this whole thing, but I'm keeping it undercover until she gets some of the bank statements start rolling in because we bank at the same bank and she's collecting the mail and she's like, hey, why are you in the red? And I'm like, and then I told her. And she was very upset. She threatened to break up with me. And I told her I was going to get back on track, pick up a white key tag, go back to meetings. And I didn't do any of that. And then one day, she says, you know what? I'm jealous. You went out there and had the chance to use, and I didn't. And I feel like I missed out. And I was still using. She didn't think I was, but I was still using. And then she started talking about how she wishes she would have used with me and we would have stopped together. Like we could have done it for a month and then finished. And I was like, oh yeah. And I was like, we talked about it enough where she got the courage enough to say, okay, I want to do it. And then I was like, okay, give me your debit card. And we both went on a 2.5-year run that was terrible. She got a settlement. She was injured on the job, got a settlement. We blew through that 40 grand in no time. We ended up homeless. We were living in her 76 sedan DeVille. She was shoplifting from drugstores. She's almost 60, Jewish woman, wonderful family, doing things that she'd never done before, having sex with our dealers to get more. Of course, I wasn't doing any better. We ended up moving in with her ex-husband. Her ex-husband's in recovery, right? Because they used together. He got clean. She got clean. They separated. I met her. We relapsed. She has no place to live. I'm definitely not coming up with any solutions. I'm as useless as they come. So she's like, Ira, can we live with you? Yeah, bring that fucking clown with you. He can live here too, right? So now we're living in the trailer with her ex-husband at one end of the trailer and me and Cheryl using at the other end of the trailer.
Oh my God.
And this guy's got a sex addiction that's way worse than me and Cheryl's crack addiction. So he's having us pick up girls for him on Broadway and bringing them back to the trailer. And he's using the drug to get his pleasure with the sex, with his addiction. And me and Cheryl are using the drug just to use the drug. And it turns into a weird, weird deal. And 9/11 happened. I remember I was in that trailer when 9/11 happened. And it just ended poorly. A few months later, I'm in a motel with her. I have a burglary warrant. The police get a tip that I'm in this hotel, downtown City Place. They raid the hotel. I'm in it. Cheryl thinks they're robbers coming to kill me. I tried to tell her, listen, it's okay. They're the police. They're not coming to murder me. They just want to arrest me. So she's crying and screaming. I'm trying to calm her down while I'm trying to get dressed and to go with them to the jail. And that was the last prison sentence. That was in I think it was the last prison sentence, bro, really. So that was in 2002. So 2002, I get the drug farm the third time.
So, okay, wait, hold on.
It's terrible.
Okay, so you get raided.
Yeah.
You're with your girl.
Yeah. This is raid 2.
60-year-old Jewish lady.
Yeah.
She's crying. You get raided. You get brought back to court.
I get the drug farm long track again.
Drug farm again, 2002. Okay, you get back to the drug farm for the third time. What happens there?
I graduate the drug farm.
You did all 15 months?
Yeah.
Wow.
By now they chopped it down to it's like 11 months, right? If you do well, you can get out a few months early.
Okay.
And
so
since I've been there twice, I knew the deal.
Yep.
Shut up, do what they say, march straight, polish your boots, iron your uniform. You're going to be good.
Mm-hmm.
But I also learned a lot, right? I forgot to tell you that. I studied. I was doing the deep work. I was reading the literature. I was doing all these classes.
The seed
Intellectually, I knew what it was that was my fault and my issues.
Yeah.
I just didn't know how to fucking enact a plan to do it, right? I wasn't motivated highly enough to do what I needed to do to get clean and sober.
Right.
So, of course, I get out. I go to DAF. DAF's halfway. I get a job. I bust tables. I have to skip that. I can't.
You meet a girl.
The manager of the restaurant who hired me, a 70-year-old Jewish broad, starts to stalk me and basically tells me that she's in love with me and won't live without me. So now I'm in halfway. I'm the oldest busboy in Palm Beach County. I'm bussing tables. I'm taking a bike to work. And this lady is telling me in her car on the way to pick up food at Cisco that her life will not be complete unless I am with her. Bro, I can't do that. She's like older than my grandmother, dude. I was like, half of me is going, oh, you can really scam this. This will really work well with you. You don't have to do nothing. She's willing to. The other half of me is going, are you nuts? You're not even going to be able to perform if you get a chance to go in a room with her. Dude, what are you doing? So I can't, it just takes me way too long. It just turns into another fucking mess, right?
So you ended up seeing her.
I ended up allowing her to do things for me.
Okay.
Because it was easier than doing them myself.
Okay.
She let me use her car. She moved into a condo on the beach in Boca for me because she asked me, where do you think I should live? And I go, how about the beach? And she did it, dude, all waiting for the day that I get released from DAF and I'm supposed to move in with her. Okay. Bro, I couldn't even be intimate with her. How am I going to make all these commitments? I can't keep them. Bro, Valentine's Day, my first day, I get a furlough. She's at the condo, cables installed. She's in the bed in her negligee. I got her car. I'm supposed to come right from DAF right to the condo. Bro, I'm in panic mode. I don't know what I'm going to do. I get there. No, I call her. My friend goes, bro, where are you going? Are you going to the Sea Hags? That's what they nicknamed her, the Sea Hag, because they knew. And they're like, bro, you're not going to be able to do it. I'm like, man, well, I'm going to have to figure it out. They're like, well, don't forget to get her a card and some candy. It's Valentine's Day. Because I would have just not done that. I don't know about holidays or what you're supposed to do and not supposed to do. So I shoot to the Hallmark store in Delray. I get this big chocolate kiss. I get a card, but I don't write anything in it because I don't even want to get the card, right? So I just go to the place. She's in the bedroom. I give her the card. She opens it up and wants to read some shit, but I didn't write any shit. So now she's all bent out of shape and she's like, you have to write something. I'm like, oh, okay, my bad. Give me a pen. I wrote some shit like Happy Valentine's Day, whatever. I didn't know, right? I don't know about these normal things. Yeah. She's now bent out of shape, but she's willing to blow it off because I'm there. Mm-hmm. She can hug me. She can kiss me. She shoots back in the bedroom and gets naked. Now she's under the covers. I'm in the living room, stuck watching TV. Now I really want to be high, but I ain't high. And I want to get out of there and I don't know how to get out. Bro, I formed a plan. I said, bro, if you just walk in there and tell her that you feel like you're going to relapse, that you have to go back to DAF, she may understand. Bro, she didn't hear that shit. She didn't understand it. She cussed me out when I told her that. Sherry, I have to go back to DAF. Can you please take me? I feel uncomfortable and I feel like I'm going to get high. She knew I was lying. She knew I didn't want to be with her sexually. So she fucking flipped her lid. Jesus fucking Christ, you motherfucker. You made me do all of these things. You promised me all these things. And I'm like, I couldn't say nothing. I was just like shrugging my shoulders. I was shrugging my shoulders and thinking maybe if I wrote some killer shit in that Valentine's Day card, I'd be saved, but it didn't work, bro. She doesn't even put shoes on. Snatches the keys, gets in the car, gets me in the car, screams at about 70 from A1A all the way back to DAF, pulls into the driveway, sliding. My buddies are all out collecting their chicken wings from their pizza and chicken wing order, and they see the car and they see me and they see the look on her face. And my buddy, who nicknamed her the Sea Hag, took one look at me when I got out of the car and just started laughing because he knew. And he's like, what happened, bro? You couldn't hang with the Sea Hag? And she fucking heard it. She heard him and started cussing him out, and she squealed out of the driveway, and that was the end of that. Bro. And it goes on, bro. This chick was in and out of my life, found me in prison, wrote me letters, sent me money, sent me stamps. Bro, visited me in work release my last time that I was in prison, because I went back to prison again after this. Bro, it's terrible.
So that was 2002, 2003-ish.
Yeah. I relapsed after getting out of DAF after the Sea Hag incident, and she lost the condo because and I relapsed. Relapse was short. It was a bad one. I'm still on that paper, right? Because they kept reinstating the paper.
The 10-year one.
I can't get off the paper,
split.
bro.
Yep.
Really?
Yep.
Enough already. Just give me 5 years and take the paper back.
Yeah.
I was willing to do whatever. So now I'm on the run again. They catch me. I go to jail. This time while I'm in jail, the state attorney's office is looking at me and he's like, his name is Kurt Williams. And he goes, Richard? I said, yeah. He goes, I'm reading your paperwork and it says this case originates in 91. It's 2004. I'm like, yeah. He goes, bro, what are you doing? I said, man, I just can't seem to figure it out. He goes, well, we're going to fucking resolve this today. He says, oh, and by the way, is your mother Sarah Cook? And I said, yeah. He goes, well, I just want to let you know that I sentenced your mother to 2 years in prison last year because she couldn't stay on house. She couldn't keep her house arrest. She couldn't keep from violating her house arrest. My mother turned into an alcoholic when my stepdad left. Stuck with the kids. She started drinking. When the youngest sibling left the house, my mom started drinking and she turned into an alcoholic just like her mother was. It was in the family. She never triggered it because she never drank. But when she was about 40, she drank and then she progressed into a stone cold alcoholic. So my mom had DUIs and the judge, the state attorney that sentenced me to my last prison sentence just wanted to let me know what was going on with my mom because he knew I hadn't been in touch with her and that she was in prison in one end of Florida and he was sentencing me to 5 years to finish out this 40-year sentence that I was doing on the installment plan, right? So I get the 5 years. I go to prison. I do maybe I do 2.5 years. I get approved for work release again. So here's my second opportunity to go to work release, to make some money, to get a job, to have a little bit of a nest egg for when I get released. I'm, of course, not getting high in prison, doing programs, life skills, dorms, parenting classes, drug treatment. I became a peer facilitator at Martin Drug Treatment Center. I'm doing what I can do. But issues are still unresolved. I'm not working on the stuff I need to work on, the inner stuff, right? So I get out, I go to work release, I make a bunch of money. I work for a guy by the name of Sam Culpepper. He's got a plumbing business for 40 years. I work for him. He takes a liking to me because I remind him of his son. Son's a drug addict. He washed his hands of his son. I'm in recovery. He takes me on as a surrogate son. We're not going to let you work at the shop. We're going to bring you to my house and you're just going to work for me at my $4.2 million mansion on 47th and Flagler. And you're just going to be my pool guy and you're going to clean the pool and hang out. We're going to grill shrimp and I'm going to do some day trading on the side. And if we have some plumbing work to do, we'll do that. But other than that, we're going to give me a $400 a week salary. And I'm basically just going to be hanging out at his fucking mansion. And I did that for over a year. Saved a bunch of money, hung out with his daughter.
No, you didn't.
No. Hung out with his daughter, but that's it.
Okay.
I can't do that. I can't. We don't have weeks time. But so I get to the end, man. Things are coming to the end. I get out of work release. Bro, I get high.
Are you living at his house?
No, but I end up living in his garage.
How did you end up living in his garage?
I get out of work release. I'm working. I have a car. But they know I'm getting high and they're confronting me about it. And they're like, listen, brother, we're going to put you in, we will put you in treatment. We will do what we have to do, but you can't come to work high. I was in the pump truck and in the grease trap truck, driving to jobs all over Palm Beach County, burning, like in the truck, burning at the job. I'm high. And they found out and they're like, we're going to let you go. And if you get your shit together, you'll have an opportunity to come back to work. And of course, I didn't get my shit together. So now I'm out without a job. But Sam Culpepper, Mr. Culpepper, still in my life. He's still trying. He's putting out all these opportunities for me. He's like, listen, man, I can't let my family know that you're living here. So I want you to bury yourself into a cubby hole in the garage. I had a 3-car garage. Find a little cubby hole somewhere. If nobody comes in there but me. If they do, it's only to do laundry, and they're not going to be there long. They're going to throw a load in, they're going to leave, they're going to come back, they're going to pop it in the dryer, they're going to leave. Just don't make any noise, and they won't know you're there. And sure enough, for a few weeks, I did that. But I was still getting high. Then my money ran out, and the last bit of money that I had made was in the bank account for the Department of Corrections, and it was being mailed to Sam's house. So I had to stay close, right? And Sam gave me an ultimatum. He says, Richard, when your check gets here, I'm going to give you an ultimatum. You can let me keep your money and you can go back to meetings and pick up a key tag and I will take you to meetings and I will put you in a van and fill it with tools and let you work under my license in order for you to get your life together because I care about you that much. He said, or you can ask me to give you the money and then that's when I never see you again. And the day came when the check arrived and he asked me what my decision was. And I told him to give me the money. And he dropped me off on Broadway and 45th Street with one bag and my bicycle and my check for $5,000. And with tears in his eyes, he just drove off. And so once again, you know, I'm on a rampage. I'm 19 days straight, no sleep, no food. I'm having hallucinations. I'm having cocaine-induced psychosis. I'm got staph infection all over me from being in these dirty motel rooms. I have a 17-hour standoff with a SWAT team outside of my room that didn't exist. There was no SWAT team. It's just 2 dog catchers coming to the neighbor's door. When I opened the door, I just saw the green uniforms and I immediately barricaded myself into the apartment and had a verbally loud and obnoxious standoff with what I thought were SWAT agents trying to arrest me. And it lasted for 17 hours. And I wouldn't let anyone in the room. And I was having conversations through my front door and through the interconnecting door to the room next to me because I thought they were in that room coming in through the side. And I barricaded myself in that room and I smoked 30 rocks back to back because I wasn't coming out until I was done with my drugs. And somehow along that 17-hour mark, I passed out on the floor. And when I woke up, it was 4:00 the next afternoon, and I opened the door and there was nobody there. So there was no SWAT. It was just me in a psychosis, thinking that I was being surrounded and apprehended, or thinking that they were going to raid my room. So I went to I took a shower, changed my clothes, made sure my money was still there, knocked on the door to pay money for another day. The lady took one look at me and said, if you don't get your fucking ass out of this room, I'm calling the cops. Because apparently everyone in that place had heard the commotion for the 17 hours. I just didn't know it. I'm surprised they didn't call the cops because I had all of the furniture was all around the doors and the entryways, right? And when I finally passed out, it was me on my hands and knees with my hands out going, okay, I don't have any weapons. I unlocked the door and said, you can come in. And then I must have passed out because the door was still unlocked when I woke up about 16 hours later. So I immediately went to a different motel and continued to do that. And then,
can you take us through the last month of your using before you actually got sober in 2016, is
yes,
it? January
2016.
January 1st, 2016. So take us through the last month and then how you ended up eventually getting clean.
Okay. So as soon as I left Sam, I went to Lake Worth. That was in 2008. So from 2008 to 2015, I was homeless, living with a prostitute on the streets at the corner of Lake Worth Road and Military Trail. Half of that time was spent behind Office Depot. The other half of that time was spent between Home Depot along a canal bank in cardboard boxes. I was selling dope a little bit on the side. I had accumulated a bunch of drug dealers' phone numbers. So I was making calls for people that were so lame they didn't even have a connection. I never understood that. Who gets high and has to allow someone else to get their dope for them, right? So I had big connections, many. And the last 4 years of that time, from 2012 to 2015, me and my girlfriend had took over a foreclosed home and kicked in the door, cleaned it up, and called it our home for 4 years. So had no running water, no power, 4 bedrooms. We were renting out rooms to prostitutes and other drug addicts. We had 5 drug dealers trafficking in heroin, fentanyl, blues, and crack, meeting their clients in our yard every day, all day for 4 years. So it became a little racket. But at the end, I couldn't escape. No matter how much I got high, no matter how many days I stayed up, no matter how many licks came through, how much money I spent, I couldn't escape from the feeling that I used to be able to run from. The despair, the depression, the guilt, the shame, the humility, all of those things, the drug used to suppress to a point where I could continue to use. Towards the end, didn't matter how much I used or what I used. That shit was there weighing on me like a fucking brick. And in 2015, I looked at my girlfriend who was selling her ass up and down Military Trail. So she was a prostitute. I had these drug dealers trapping in my house. So it was just a mess, right? And I told her one day, I said, hey, I'm going to call the Palm Springs Police Department and I'm going to have them take me to jail because I had an open case. I had a possession charge that I was out on bond on. And she's like, what do you mean? And I said, bro, I can't do this. I'm not going to be the 49-year-old guy with a shopping cart, a dog, and all of his belongings walking up and down Military Trail. I'm not doing this. So she was a little confused, but she realized that I was pretty serious. And I did just what I said I was going to do. I went to a food kitchen that was in my neighborhood that was run by some nuns. I asked them to call Palm Springs Police. Palm Springs Police came. They ran my name. I didn't have a warrant. So they were going to let me walk. And I wasn't walking. I was going to make them take me someplace safe. So I threatened to harm myself. And as a result of that, I got sent to South County from JFK. As a result of the South County, I got put on some medicines for depression, and I was released from there to the HOT team, which is the homeless outreach program in Palm Beach County. The HOT team set me up in sober living, paid my rent for 90 days. I just didn't get high, one day at a time, and I didn't know what the future would bring, but I know I wasn't going to get high. So I was playing it from the beginning. I was confused and not knowing what was over the next horizon for me. But as long as I didn't smoke any crack, I felt I had a chance. And a few months later, I was asked if I knew anything about a place called the Lord's Place. And I said, I've heard about it, but I don't know about it. And the counselor that got me into sober living worked for the health department. She reached out to the Lord's Place, and the Lord's Place evaluated me, and they allowed me to come to their long-term side, which is a homeless shelter in Boynton. And I didn't have a release date. I didn't have a time where I had to be out. I didn't have a mandate that said I had to get a job, save up a bunch of money, pay a bunch of rent, and then leave in a year. I had kind of like a big window of opportunity to get my bearings, and I needed that. And that was the beginning. I made meetings. I got a sponsor, started working the steps. It took me 2 years before I was able to even get employed, right? Because I still had to go through, I was still depressed. I was still on medicine for the depression. I was volunteering for all of this programs, things that the program had to offer. I wanted to give back. They helped me and I wanted to help them. So anything they asked me to do, I volunteered for. The dinners, the sleep out events, speaking at their engagements, going to their breakfast, the annual breakfast for fundraisers. And then it was time for me to get out and look for work. And I did that. And I got an interview at Publix in 2017, the store that I was banned from shopping in 40 years prior. And they hired me.
Wow.
And so that was, that gave me some motivation and some hope, right? I got 33 felony convictions. I've been in prison 17 years of my life. I'm still learning how to navigate smartphones. I'm 58 years old now, so some of this is still new, but it's doable, right? Because if I'm picking up 10 years in January, then it doesn't matter what I went through, that it's doable. You just have to do some simple things. And for someone like me, sometimes those simple things are not as simple. But the alternative for me is death or life in prison. So, of course, I'm going to do what I have to do. My sponsor is the greatest guy. My meeting, my home group is the greatest meeting. My job, my employer is the greatest job. Where I live, I still live in Lord's Place housing. I live in graduate housing. My rent's only $500 a month, and I have a 3-bedroom, fully furnished house that I live in with 2 other male roommates. Bro, I'd have to have 2 jobs and rob something to pay rent what they want here in this county. There's no way I could do it, right? I'm 8 years into a career. I have a 401k. I didn't know what that was several years ago. I have an 826 credit score. I drive a 2017 Honda Accord. I go to bed at 9 o'clock at night because I'm tired from work, right? Every family member is back in my life, and they look up to Big Brother for guidance when they're struggling. My mom passed in 2017, my first year at the Lord's Place. I still have the last letter I got from her. But she knew that I was safe, and she knew that I wasn't using. So she was happy. I have a brother who's still struggling, who's in prison now in Virginia on his 14th prison sentence. My younger brother, Michael. Mm-hmm. He didn't get it right. He couldn't get it right. He's still struggling. Addiction is in my family, riddled. Criminal behaviors in my family. My mom's been to prison. I've been to prison. My brother Michael's been to prison. My brother Walter's been to prison. My sister Bridget's been to prison. It's just sometimes this stuff, it's in the fabric of some of these families. Just have to, it's in there. It's embedded. But it doesn't mean you have to stay there, right? Because I rose above. I took the mess that was my life and turned it into the best life I've ever lived. And I'm only, almost 10 years into it. I can't wait for 20.
You have a lot of life left.
I do.
What piece of advice would you give the listener right now who is struggling and, on the fence about sobriety and thinking that there is no other way?
Listen, man, with social media and the news and what's going on in the streets of this country today, there's no way. You have to be an imbecile if you don't see what's happening. We're losing our brothers and our sisters to the disease of addiction. We're losing them daily. Listen, just like it was told to me, struggle. It's okay to struggle. I ran from my struggles. I never wanted to do anything that seemed like work to me, but I do that now. Sometimes you're just going to have to struggle and get through the struggle. I'm still learning lessons. I still have some issues in my life. This year has been the roughest of the 9 that I've been clean, but I'm still here, right? So you have to have vigilance. You have to be highly motivated to do the next right thing. It isn't rocket science. Right? There's 12 steps. They're in that order for a reason. You start at 1, you end at 12, and then you live it all every day of your life that you're breathing. You reach out and you help the next person who's in a lower state than you are. You might feel like crap the first 30 days. Wait till you get 6 months. You're going to see those people coming in that are picking up their 30-day key tags, and you're going to want to reach out to them because they gave freely to me, and I give freely when I can. I'm just grateful to have this opportunity and this platform to share my testimony, man. Thank you very much.
Well, Richard, I want to thank you for coming on and the vulnerability and you sharing your story so that it helps someone else out there. Again, thank you for traveling up here.
Oh, no problem.
And I appreciate you coming on.
Thanks, man. Thank you.